Hey everybody, I wanted to make a quick video about a couple of things that I saw that I think you should be aware of. I'm going to keep this kind of brief, or at least I'm going to try to anyway. The first, Saudi Arabia is in talks to sell oil to China and be paid in the yuan. Now, what a lot of people might not realize is that for about 50 years now, Saudi Arabia has traded crude oil exclusively in the US dollar. In fact, 80% of the world's crude oil sales are done in the US dollar. The US dollar currently has the global reserve currency status, meaning it's the preferred medium for international trades because of its strength and reliability. However, over the years, it's slowly started to weaken, and in particular, since all of these new sanctions against Russia have been announced, Russia has started turning to China to boost some of their trade, so to speak. China has also been making major moves to try to overtake the United States as the leading economic power of the world. They're not quite there yet, but they're well on their way, and the United States is currently in a decline as far as economic power goes. Our U.S. dollar up to this point has been highly favored by nearly every other country in the world, but over the past couple of years, countries are slowly starting to back off of using the dollar. They're not completely decoupling from it, but they are starting to use it less and less and less, and starting to rely on themselves and their relationships with other countries to sidestep the U.S. dollar, so that they're not completely dependent on the United States and the United States dollar. In addition to that, over the past year alone, the U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia has deteriorated significantly under Biden, with the fact that Biden has essentially told the Prince of Saudi Arabia that they're not an ally, they're simply a partner. And I believe there were some other things that were said. In fact, recently, Biden he attempted to call the Prince to discuss ramping up oil production, and hang on 1 minute. Sorry about that. As I was saying, there have been some comments exchanged between the Prince and Biden. Biden has made it clear that he doesn't consider Saudi Arabia to be an ally of the United States, merely a partner. And Biden has recently tried to call the Prince to discuss ramping up oil production to help ease oil and gas prices. The Prince rejected the call, essentially. They refused to talk to him. But the Prince is now talking to China about selling to China in the form of the Chinese yuan instead of the US dollar. So bypassing the United States and the United States reserve currency. So the less countries rely on the United States dollar as a reserve, the weaker the United States dollar becomes. Right now, the strength of the US dollar lies in the fact that everybody is willing to accept it, that everybody views it as being stronger and more reliable than essentially any other currency in the world. we're slowly losing that prestige, that status. Now, I don't expect other countries to completely stop using the dollar, but I do think you can expect there to be a significant decline in the use of the dollar as a trade currency. And what this means for the U.S. is pretty straightforward. It means a weaker dollar, less reliability. It won't be the default reserve currency anymore. Sorry about that, folks. It won't be the reserve currency anymore necessarily. It might share that spotlight with the Chinese yuan. And a lot of this has to do with simply the way the United States has been doing things here lately. We've been printing money like it's going out of style, like there's no end to it, running up our debt at astronomical rates, and it's unsustainable. And I think the rest of the world sees this. They understand that what the United States is doing with its currency is not sustainable. It can't last. And then in addition to that, recent events with Russia has shown the world that if you don't play ball with what America wants, we'll cut you off. Now, I'm not saying that sanctions or anything are necessarily bad, but Russia has been setting itself up so that it's not completely dependent on the US dollar. They'll be able to survive us cutting them off. It's going to hurt them, it's going to hurt us, but I don't think it's going to have the effect that a lot of people think it's going to have. On the contrary, it's going to have the opposite effect, is in that it's going to weaken our position in the world. People are going to start seeing that, countries, I should say, are going to start seeing that if they don't do what the United States tells them to do, or demands that they do, then we'll sanction them, we'll cut off trade, we'll cut them off from the SWIFT system and all this other crap, and that could hurt them. So they're going to start taking steps to secure themselves from going through what we're doing to Russia. So you're going to see over the next few months, maybe even years, more and more countries start to back off of using the dollar or relying on the dollar as the primary form of trade. They're going to start working out deals and negotiations with other countries where they'll accept the yuan, the renminbi, or whatever other currency they want to accept. This is going to weaken the United States dollar. And as a result, it's going to make things more expensive because the dollar has less value. So they're continuing to, in my opinion, they're continuing to undermine and destroy this economy. The Biden administration and the Democrats, they seem, I could be mistaken, but just from my point of view, from whatever I'm seeing and what I'm reading and what's happening, it's my opinion that they are intentionally trying to destroy our economy. Most likely for the Great Reset. Because you have to, before you can reset anything, you have to destroy what's already there before you can rebuild. You can't rebuild if there's something already in the way. You have to tear it down first. So, to my way of thinking, all of this is intentional. They're doing it on purpose. This is what they want. Now, as if that wasn't enough, I found something that very few people are talking about. I've only heard it mentioned in 2 other places. They recently passed the fiscal year 2022 omnibus legislation to fund the federal government. They pushed it through. It passed, so far as I'm aware, unless I've gotten my information mixed up. It has passed. What most people don't realize, there's 2 things in there that I don't like. One of them is there's some anti-Second Amendment legislation in it, saying that if, for whatever reason, you attempt to buy a gun and you fail the background check, even if it's the Federal Bureau of Investigation's error that causes you to fail that background check, you will be added to a list and be under a federal criminal investigation. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. You can read up on it yourself. But the other thing, like I said, I've only heard 2 other people talk about this, and I started doing searches online trying to dig into it, and I couldn't find anything until I used a VPN. Using a VPN to sidestep Google and all this other censoring crap that they're doing, then I was able to find information on it. Inside this omnibus legislation was included a 21% increase in member representational allowance, the MRA funding. Now you might be wondering, okay, what in the world is that? Well, quite simply, the House of Representatives has voted to give themselves a 21% pay increase. You heard me right. You can look it up. I'm including the links below to one of the politicians that pushed for this and is bragging about it. They're actually bragging about this, claiming that this will allow them to increase the pay for the members, leaders, and committees so that they can retain the brightest and the best. But they have voted to give themselves a 21% increase. Now, think about this. They are actively trying to destroy the value of the US dollar. They're destroying the United States economy. Inflation is through the roof. It's the highest it's been in 40 or 50 years. They say it's around 10%. I'm going to tell you that that's a lie. They're lying to you, because inflation, the way they calculate it today, is not the same way they calculated it back in the 70s. Today, they no longer include things like rent, food, or fuel in the numbers that they use to calculate what inflation is. So they say inflation is around 10%. And based on that, it's the highest it's been in 40 or 50 years. I'm telling you, inflation is probably more along the lines of 28 to 29%. And so while people are struggling to buy food, pay bills, buy gas, because of all this warmongering and all this trashing of the United States economy, they chose to vote themselves a 21% pay increase. Now, it must be really nice to be able to say, I want a raise, let's vote for it. You can vote yourself a raise anytime you want to. That must be really nice, because where I work, you can't do that. You have to work your butt off, and you have to try to earn that raise, And even then, sometimes you don't get it. See, I'm not even sure I'm going to get a raise this year myself at my job. And last year, I didn't get a raise. We were told there were no raises. They were going to freeze everything for everybody. So it must be really nice to be able to decide you want a raise, so you're going to vote on it, you pass it, and nobody has anything to say about it. They are destroying this country. People are having trouble buying food, gas, paying bills, and they vote to give themselves more money. Folks, get ready. Do whatever you got to do. Prep, stack food, put back a little bit of gold and silver, put back a little bit of cash. Start producing food. Build networks of people that you can trade with. You're going to need it. You really are. Anyway, that's all I've got for right now. I went on a little bit longer than I intended to, but that's okay. I'll get some more videos to you as soon as I can. I'm working some really long shifts this week, all week, so I might not be getting them out every single day, but I'm trying to keep things coming for you. I've got some more videos I do want to do. I'm just waiting for a little time off and a little dry weather so that I can get them done. Anyway, that's all I've got for right now. With that, I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And just keep prepping. Keep putting food back. Keep stacking gold, silver. Put money back. Build networks. Get yourselves ready. The way things are going is unsustainable. So keep your head on a swivel and keep busy. Get yourselves ready, folks. Anyway, until next time, take care. Catch you later.